Tomorrow is the parade to commemorate the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary. I have some of the key numbers next to me. 6,600 soldiers will be a part of this. There will be about 150 Army vehicles, including different types of tanks, and 50 aircraft as well. Army officials say it will cost between $25 and $45 million. This, keep in mind, is an expenditure by an administration trying to cut costs. Now, the last time the U.S. held a military parade was way back in 1991. All right, this is 34 years ago, and it marked the end of the Gulf War. And according to the Washington Post, it cost about $8 million at the time. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $19 million today. Now, inspired by France's Bastille Day parade during a visit back in 2017, President Trump called on the U.S. military to begin planning its own parade. This was during his first term, but that never came together. Naftali Bendavid is in our Washington bureau with more on tomorrow's parade. He's a senior political correspondent for the Washington Post. Good morning to you, Naftali. So President Trump seems to be going all out for this parade, this time in his second term. Why exactly? Was it really about what he saw in France?
Well, I guess it depends who you ask. The White House certainly says that the U.S. Army deserves nothing less than a grand parade on its 250th birthday, that this doesn't come around very often. Of course, the U.S. doesn't have military parades quite in the same numbers that other countries do, but, you know, the administration would argue, if not now, when? It's time to celebrate what is sometimes seen as an underappreciated branch of the military. So that's their reason for having the parade. Now, critics, of course, note that this happens to be on President Trump's birthday as well. And they say that that's the real motivation, that the president wants something to celebrate himself, that he wants to make the event about himself. And it's another example of President Trump politicizing the military. So there are going to be a lot of protests around the country under the theme of No Kings, because they argue that the parade, and more important, President Trump's role in it, are more reminiscent of an authoritarian president than a traditional American democratic leader.
So then what will the rest of us see tomorrow? As you just laid out, President Trump wants to demonstrate one thing. It will be grand. It will be choreographed. But the sentiment in the country right now, especially with what's been happening in L.A., is one of division and one where people are openly expressing their opinions and using their First Amendment right. So what will we all take from what happens Saturday, do you think?
Well, I think it's going to be a very dramatic split screen. You know, it's no secret that the country is quite divided politically over everything from President Trump's management of the government to the military itself. But rarely do we see those divisions play out very dramatically in the country's streets. And I think that's what's going to be remarkable about tomorrow. On the one hand, you'll see this fairly dramatic military parade with a lot of pomp, with tanks, with planes, with paratroopers and bands. And on the other hand, throughout the country, you're going to see this demonstration taking place in about 2,000 cities and towns under the theme of No Kings, to make the argument that, as they see it, this is a parade that's much more about the aggrandizement of the president than it is about celebrating the military itself. And then, of course, as you say, it has gotten conflated with what's going in Los Angeles, where critics also say the president is misusing the military for his own purposes, and where, of course, there have been demonstrations against the president's immigration policies. So I think tomorrow's going to have even more drama, perhaps, than was originally thought.
And what about messaging from the administration, as it has really pushed hard to cut federal spending just about everywhere? Does this undercut its own efforts?
Well, certainly Democrats have said that it's contradictory to that. You know, the military spending in the president's budget is not going down, but there have been cuts at the Veterans Affairs Department and in other areas. And so, yeah, Democrats do raise this issue of when you're cutting costs around the country, including for some military causes, you know, does it make sense to spend $45 million on a parade? Now, the military's response is that this will be a recruiting boost, that this military will more than pay for itself, because people who see this dramatic and impressive display will then want to join the military, and that, of course, they have a large budget for recruitment anyway. So that's sort of their argument. A lot of Democrats aren't buying it, but certainly the price tag has become one of the issues here.
All right. Naftali Bendavid joining us from our D.C. bureau. We appreciate you waking up with us today. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
And folks, you can stream it live. The Army's 250th anniversary parade is Saturday, and you can watch it here on CBS News 24/7. It begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, anchored by our own Major Garrett.